I'm sitting finally in a decent temperature that isn't boiling hot in my blanket, all cozy, and I started thinking about a story that I was told many years ago. When we were children, like my cousins and a sibling, we used to beg for ghost stories, both on the Irish side with my dad and aunties, and also on the Italian side with my aunties. And they all had great stories, and tonight for some reason this story just came to mind. So this is a ghost story, and it's known as Tombino, and it's about a burial in Italy. And in the burial, as somebody passes, the custom, like in many places, is that the body is in the house the night before it gets taken for the funeral, obviously ceremony, and then the body gets put in something called the whole structure is called like a loculi, but then it's also known as a colombario. And those are the ones where it's like really tall structures, and the bodies kind of get put in a wall, and it's usually made of marble, and it'll have the person's name, date of passing and date of birth, so on, and a picture of them on the outside. And people can go there and they put flowers in a little flower holder that is beside each one. So before that happens, and many people would consider it a tomb, even though it's not necessarily a tomb, the body stays in the home. Now, on one occasion, there was a passing, and there was a young boy called Tommaso, and he was extremely interested in the fact that there was a dead body in the house. He couldn't understand why, really, but he was very curious about it. So when everyone was asleep, the night before the funeral, he went downstairs to have a look. Because as they lay there in a casket, there's no lid. It's left open. Because in Italy it's customary, as in other countries as well, but it's customary to bury the body as soon as possible. So when somebody dies, the funeral will be either the next day after they've passed, or 2 days or 3 max. So as this happens, he goes down and he creeps into the room, and he hears the sound calling him Tommaso. And he thinks it's his mother that's caught him snooping around. So he quickly turns around to go back up the stairs, but he notices that there's no light upstairs. He can't see anyone, he didn't hear any creaking. So he thinks, never mind, let me go back. He enters the room and he sees the relative that had passed laying there. And again he hears, Tommaso. And at this point he's thinking, am I just freaking myself out? What's going on? And he decides that he's going to be really naughty and take one of the flowers that are in the hands of his dead relative. He doesn't know what possessed him to do this. I don't know what possessed him to do this, but he did it. He went to bed. The next day was the funeral. Everything proceeded as normal. But that night, when Tommaso went to bed, all he could hear was, Tommaso. He could not hear anything else. He could not hear his cries, and neither could anyone else. He could not hear the birds outside. He could not hear any of the people walking around downstairs that were still there from the funeral. He could not hear a sound. All he could hear for the rest of his days was his name, Tommaso. And yes, he did try returning the flower, where they hold the flowers in the little holder by the tomb, but it didn't make a difference. He disrespected the dead, and the dead were never going to let him rest in peace until he joined them. Hope you like that one. Okay, I wish you a very, very spooky night. I hope you have the sweetest of dreams. Stay safe. Be good to each other. I love you lots.